All right, welcome everybody to the International Speaker Network, and this is Katrina Sawa. I'm the facilitator, I guess, or organizer of this group. It is a group that's run on meetup.com, and it's been around for about 12 years now in the Sacramento area. But now we do online webinars, which can then bring people from all over the world. And we do have speakers and guests from all over many different countries. So this call is designed to get to know other speakers in other areas, help provide resources, network, collaborate. One of the things that I love about Zoom calls is that we can use the chat room and we can connect further. So once you hear the introductions of everybody here, you can actually send them a message in the chat. You can take it offline to a phone call, maybe even collaborate on a joint venture, have each other speak on each other's podcasts, radio shows, or live events. You can do all kinds of things. So I encourage you not to just listen, but participate and get active. And then also in the chat room, first of all, you want to make sure you're looking at us like a Brady Bunch, where it should be the gallery view. If you're not, then I would recommend you look at the top right-hand corner of your screen. It'll say gallery view or speaker view. You want it to say speaker view because that means you're in gallery then and you can see all of us. So that way you can see everybody who's talking and it's not confusing. So over in the chat room on the right-hand side, if you go down to the bottom of the screen, you'll see the chat bubble. If you click it, it'll open up the chat room over there, and you can enter in your website, a little bit more about what you do if you want, as well as any upcoming events or speaking gigs that you have, things that you have to offer. In fact, I have a really cool offer for my Jumpstart Yourself as a Speaker training that I put on Facebook for my birthday this last weekend. And the special runs until the 11th. So I'll put the link over there because it's 90% off. It makes it stupid cheap, you guys, to go get this $1,000 training. So anyways, I'll put it over there. And so I want you guys to introduce yourself, what you're doing. I'm obviously a business coach and marketing coach, a speaker, and author of 8 books. And I just love, love, love helping people make more money doing what they love. And speaking is the #1 strategy that I use to gain clients and build my business. And whether it's speaking in person, speaking on my own stages, speaking on podcasts, or in groups like this, this is literally the #1 strategy I use. And everything you do is speaking, networking events, 30-second commercials. So everybody here's a speaker, I know it. So all we have to do is either hone our skill, get more speaking gigs, or monetize it more, in my opinion. And so that's what we're here to do. And today we're gonna learn from Julie Anderson, who's our speaker. And it's a very short talk, but it's all about podcasting and how to host it and profit it. And then we can have a discussion around it. And then at the end of the call, we'll again, you can be posting things in the chat room that you have going on so we can all visit your website and stuff so that we can find out more. All right, so let's get started with introductions. I'm going to start with Barb and Gracia, and then let's go to Ariane, Rhonda, and Gary, since you guys are seasoned vets on the call, and then I'll bring the rest in just so you can see how it works. And if you can keep it to 30, 60 seconds max, that would be great. Barb, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Barb and Gracia. I live in central Massachusetts, so it's already dark. I have certification in copyright management and licensing digital content. And I enjoy doing workshops, helping people understand the role of copyright in their lives, how they can use copyright as a tool to achieve their goals, to create their assets and protect their assets. As I work with individuals, I like to do workshops with groups, and like to bring some fun to a serious topic. And Kat is muted.
Ariane, go ahead. Ariane, then Rhonda, then Gary. Just step right in, you guys.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ariane, and I help people clear trauma from intergenerational family patterns with the help of their ancestors. And you can see me on the Shift Network on Thursday at the Ancestral Healing Summit. And so take a look at me there. I'll put the link in the chat box. Next.
Hello, I believe I'm next. Excuse me, I'm picking up my daughter from track. My name is Rhonda Liebig, and I am an energy revitalizer and mindset mentor, so I'm in the health industry. And I also run a show called the Fresh Inspiration Show. So I get to support speakers getting out there and speaking. And I also get to help people with mindset. And I do that for the people that are speakers and also that are with me this year, and then also for the people that are coaching with me. So I love it. And so I would love for you to see where our show is and come see us, be entertained, lifted, and also have networking space.
Awesome. Thank you. Gary, and then Renee, and then Cher, and then Joanne, and then Jason.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Gary McKenzie. I'm located in Modesto, California, which is the middle of the state. I'll put a plug in for Rhonda. Rhonda's programs are very good, and if you can attend them, I encourage you to do so. They're very, very well organized. So I work with individuals to develop and implement a marketing plan. And really, I have a lot of emphasis on using public speaking to market yourself and market your business. It's a very low cost, ineffective way of marketing. And yet, when you're all our speakers and you know this, when you stand on stage with a microphone, you are the expert. And so it puts you head and shoulders above your competition. So I work with individuals, I develop their marketing plan using public speaking. I help them just to identify who's their target market and how do they communicate with their target market, specifically using words that connect with their market. And like Rhonda, also I do linguistic programming coach. So I work with individuals on mindset and building their self-confidence so they can stand out and speak with confidence and be the true expert they are. So thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about myself.
All right, who did I say? I said Renee, and then Cher. Go ahead, just keep going. Mm-hmm.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Renee Balcom, and I have a business called Renee and Company, and our focus is to provide services and education to the family caregiver and the family care coordinator. I also have been doing more and more speaking. I aspire to be the go-to expert for the resources for caregivers. I also have a great passion for changing our cultural mentality about aging and starting working to eliminate ageism in our culture. I think it's time that we kind of stand up for ourselves and start working as a group to shift the mindset about aging. I believe the baby boomers in our generation are going to do it way differently than any generation before us. And so I want to be at the head of that parade, and that's the speaking platform that I have is called Raging Aging. I participated last year in a book. My chapter was called Raging Aging, and I just feel very passionately about uniting as a culture and shifting the way people are viewing aging today. And there's no one that I'm looking at in this meeting that shouldn't be on my parade.
What are you trying to say, Renee? Okay.
I'm just saying we have to change the game.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Cher, don't forget to unmute. And then Joanne, and then Jason, and then Steve, you'll be at the end. Here, I can get you, Cher. There you go. I can't get you unmuted, Cher. Try it again. Can't get it. There you go.
There we go.
Okay, good.
My name is Cher Singh, and I just moved to California from New York. And I do diversity trainings for corporations and nonprofits and for-profits, educational institutions, and so on. So I problem solve. I go in and see what their problems are and try to work with them to find solutions. I public speak. I guest speak. I belonged in New York to a speakers bureau. And so I am here and trying to establish myself in all of those spaces, and saw your group and wanted to engage and sort of befriend everybody and see where things are and what's going on here on the West Coast as I did on the East Coast. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Okay, Joanne, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Joanne Bradley of Words for Life Coaching. I am a transition life coach. I work with people that are at a crossroad in their life that are trying to figure out what they need to do next. Coming from people that are pre-retirees, people that are changing careers, empty nesters, and students. And I've had 20-something years working in medical social work. And when I was doing a lot of coaching then, decided to start my own business. I am actively involved in Toastmasters, currently an area director for one of the areas over here. And I live in Vallejo, but my business is in Benicia. And I'm looking at starting a podcast this year. So I was very interested in, not just a group as for the speaking part, but also the topic that you guys are going to be talking about on today. So I think that I'm looking to get some good information from that.
Awesome. Julie will give you as much as she can, I know, in this short time, because she has been doing it forever. Cool. Let's see. Who did I say? Jason, and then Steve.
I am Jason, probably who I am because I'm Katrina's husband, and I have now got my audio booth set up, and I'm doing voiceover work. I'm going to be doing intros and outros for podcasters, all kinds of things. I'm going to be doing audiobooks, promos for movies, you name it, I can do it. So if you need some help with an intro outro for your podcast, I got an ECS offer today, $297. Wow, I'm hearing Katrina's computer, and it's like 2.5, 3 sentences behind me. It's very odd. Anyway, that's me. That's who I am. Next.
I think what's happening is that we're not used to being on the same Zoom call ever at the same time. So we're probably experiencing some weirdness going on. So I don't think you and I can talk at the same time, sweetie, or be unmuted at the same time. But you guys, his audio sounds a whole lot better in his booth than what you're hearing here on Zoom. This is horrible. Don't worry. Yeah. You're muted, baby. But let me tell you, he's got some demos he could show you, and I'm going to have him do a podcast intro outro for me. And so $297 is a steal. I think Julie will tell you to do all of that for you. Anyways, Steve, why don't you share who you are? You're muted currently.
There we go. Yeah, I am Steve Utley, and I help people master the art of communication in the spoken word and the written word. The ability for people to have the power of the message that we're capable of creating is something that most people never really master. So this is something I'm really passionate about. It's personal. Somebody's always sending and somebody's always receiving a message at all times. And to learn what that really is doing for us and where all of our opportunities to become everything we're capable of becoming lies in the space we typically aren't communicating in. And so I do professional speech writing. I used to compete many years ago. So I've had a lot of speaking experience, and I find a lot of pleasure in helping people just a slight shift from where they are, have that aha moment where, oh my God, I can feel myself. And so Chuck referred me here, so I'm getting back into an NSA, and I really look forward to learning from everybody here and kind of getting my feet into a place where I can call community or home. So I look forward to this. I look forward to it.
Awesome, welcome. And yeah, we're missing Chuck. He's always here.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for being here, you guys. Okay, we want to introduce Julie, and Julie is known as the Brain Lady, and because she literally talks about the brain and your personality and how it relates to everything you're doing in decision making, your business, and all of that stuff. And she can tell you more about that. But what she's really here tonight to talk about is the world of podcasting, because it is the new speaking medium. It's the new media that you all want to pay attention to. If you're not getting booked on podcasts as a guest even, at least once a week, you are missing huge opportunities, you guys. They are everywhere. They're everywhere. There's thousands and thousands of podcasts in all different arenas that are looking for guests. I was just at a podcasting conference. I've been at 4 different podcasting conferences in the last 2 years, and it's amazing. So Julie has been doing one for a long time. You're going to tell us all about it. Now she runs a network, and you can fill in the blanks, Julie, and take it away for the next few minutes. And then keep your questions, or put your questions in the chat room, you guys, and then we'll go back through and answer the questions when she's done talking. And mute yourselves, and then we'll definitely open it up for discussion when we're done. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, real quick, I want everybody to give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Is my audio all right? Okay, perfect. Except for Jason. You're like, leave it to Jason. Okay, all right. Well, first, thank you very much, Katrina, for having me on here. I love Katrina. I love everything she's doing, and I'm excited to be in anything that collaborate with anything that she's got going on. So podcasting, we'll leave all the Brain Lady stuff for another time, because I really want to focus on podcasting, and there is so much amazing information. Katrina's right. It has changed tremendously from where it started several years ago. It kind of went through a boom, and then it slowed down, and now it is just, it's increasing tremendously. I'm going to give you some stats real quick to help you to understand just how much it's grown. It's gone up from 24% of the population to 26% of the population from 2017 to 2018. It doesn't seem like much. We're talking US statistics. Doesn't seem like much, but that equates to 73 million listeners to podcasts every single month. About 48 million people in the US listen to podcasts on a weekly basis. 16 million say that they are avid podcast fans, which means they're listening to 3 or 4 or 5 podcasts a week. So there's a huge base out there that is already listening to podcasts, and we're talking 26%. There's a huge growth that's coming about too. Just in the last year, in 2018, iTunes, now remember, iTunes was primarily a music download platform in the beginning, but in 2018, they doubled their podcast downloads. So their podcast subscriptions went from right around 500 million, and it surpassed 1 billion subscriptions in 2018. And believe it or not, iTunes is not your top provider. Spotify is higher than iTunes. So you've got Spotify, you've got iHeart, you've got iTunes, and then you've got a lot of different ones. Our Women Entrepreneurs Podcast Network is housed on the Spreaker platform, and they go out to about a dozen different platforms, including iTunes and iHeart and all of those big ones. So a lot of growth. Some interesting statistics on the quality of the listeners. So let me see here if I can find this percentage, because this I felt was really pertinent for business people, because one of the questions that you're going to have is, how can I monetize it? Podcasting is fun. How can I monetize it, right?
Well, it says here, a recent study that was a survey that was done on 300,000 podcast listeners found that 63% had bought something that the host had promoted. That's a pretty high percent. When asked if advertising within the podcast had affected their behavior, 71% said they had visited the sponsor's website, while 62% said that they had considered purchasing the products and or services. So you've got a really good platform for sales. Now, I'm not saying that your best podcasts are not podcasts where people are selling the whole time. They're podcasts where you're giving great content, you're giving great value, you're engaging your audience, and you're giving them something that they become your fans. They love you. I am in my 5th year of my Brain Lady Speak show, and we're just ramping up and getting into the Women Entrepreneurs Extraordinaire show and the podcast network. In the short period of time that I was doing within the first 3 years of doing Brain Lady Speaks, I started having downloads in over 20 different countries. So this is one of your big benefits to podcasting. If you have a product or a service that you can support outside of the United States, then podcasting is an excellent way. I mean, think about it. How many networking events would you have to go to? How many conferences would you have to go to? How many speaking engagements would you have to be able to start to reach people in 20 different countries, right? So there's just a huge value to podcasting. It's a great alternative to video for a lot of people who just aren't ready to jump into the video, that video world on social media. It gives you the ability to increase the traffic to your website or whatever your main portal is, to engage with people and have them, come into I like to call it your pyramid, not your funnel, but come into your world, so to speak, and become engaged with you in a business fashion. You can build great relationships with the audience. They get to know who you are, right? I mean, they're listening to you talk. They're hearing the excitement in your voice. They're listening to your quirky sense of humor, right? They're able to hear your expertise. They're just really able to engage with you on a whole different level. And it helps to improve your public speaking skills. You can start going back and listening to your own podcasts and going, oh my goodness, I have some word whiskers in there that I need to take care of. I say the word so too much, or, whatever it is, you're able to actually critique yourself and improve those skills. It gives you the ability to connect with other dynamic people. Katrina mentioned being on other podcasts. I recently got an inquiry from a speaker representative who wants me to interview the person she's representing, who has a reach of over 600,000 people. And these are on a whole different level than what I'm playing with. So when I have her on my podcast, I am now being able to access her group of 600,000 people with my message. Even though I'm interviewing her, they're fans of her. So they're going to tune in and listen to the Brain Lady Speak show because they want to hear her speak. But at the same time, for those who connect with me, they're now going to become fans of me. So there's just so many different benefits to podcasting, and it is growing and growing and growing. Last year was the first year that iHeart Network had a podcast awards ceremony. So, I mean, it's just continuing to grow. And our life is ruled by our tablets and our smartphones. And, people are listening all the time to podcasts. They're listening to podcasts in the cars. The new cars even have it programmed into their little screen, right? Just like the Sirius FM radio, they're able to listen to their favorite podcast as they're driving. So great way to reach your potential customer base, to connect with other dynamic entrepreneurs or other dynamic speakers or people in your own world. So great way to collaborate as well. Okay, did I give you a good nutshell? I'm trying to watch the clock at the same time. I think we were talking about 15 minutes. You tell me, Katrina, where we're at.
Yeah, well, I think they know now they should do a podcast, or at least be on them, right? So how about, I put a couple questions in the chat. What does someone really need to do to set up a podcast for themselves, first of all? So yes, we want, and I have a whole list I have a podcast checklist I promised I would send to you guys, and I'm going to get you that for those who are here live. I'm writing all your names down. But what do they need besides getting booked as a guest? If they were to start one, what do they need, or how do they need to prepare? And then what are the costs expected with that?
Okay, so really, to start your podcast, you don't need a whole lot of anything. You can download something like Audacity, which is a free program for doing your recording. You don't have to have a super high quality in the beginning microphone. I've invested in the Yeti. I think that for me, because I'm doing it from my home office, and I never know what a dog's going to run past or whatnot. This particular microphone is very good at, blocking out the outside sounds. And so this one I think is around $125, but you don't have to spend that much on a big microphone. You can get by, especially in the beginning, with something a little bit not quite as expensive. I don't necessarily suggest that you use your phone headphones. I just don't think they're going to grab the quality. You want to remember that you are developing your reputation with the people in the podcast community. So you want to be clear, and you want to, have good quality sound. So I would suggest, you can pick up a decent one for under $50. In order to set it up on your own, to actually have the RSS feed directly on your website, I'm not familiar with that the costs involved with that. We run with our network to be a podcast host on our network. It's $150 a month, or you get 1 month free if it's 6 months in advance, or 2 months free if it's a year in advance. So it's really not that expensive if you're on certain networks. There are a lot of other networks. You're going to see prices going all the way up to $500 a month. It just depends on what you want. Now, you can also go independent and set yourself up on Blog Talk Radio or on Spreaker. And a lot of those programs, they do have free programs, but the free programs are very limited in the amount of time that you can record a podcast, and they're very limited in how many podcasts you can do during the month. So I would suggest, if you're going with one of those programs, at least go with their base program, paid for program, which is somewhere around $20 to $30. It's really not that expensive. So you can get started in podcasting for fairly inexpensively, and your return on that, your ROI, is going to come pretty rapidly back to you. Let me see, what was another expected cost? What do you need to prepare for? You do need to have your recording program. You can even record on Zoom if you have a Zoom, and just do the audio. You can, sorry, my dog's tail is hitting the table over there. You can, like I said, you can do Audacity. I have something called NCH. I'm not really sure exactly what that stands for. I have the WavePad editor, which I think I paid $50 for the software, and it's on my computer, and that way I can put my bumpers in and my bumpers out. I like bumpers personally. Go Jason, I do. I think it's worth it to have a professional done intro and exit and bumper in between any commercials that you might be taking. So you might consider that. Again, in the beginning, as you're starting out, don't trip over all those details, because if you do, you're not going to get started. So get started, work with someone who can train you how to do it. I can help you with that and get going in the process. I think Jason said to do his bumpers were $270, under $300, which is very, it's very reasonable. You can buy the music, you can get the music really cheap. Like you can get, I think it's $10 for a 30-second clip of music. So you can go to think it's Audio Cloud. You can go to different audio things on the web and you can buy unlicensed, music that you don't have to worry about replaying. So lots of, really, you can get going for just a few $100, get it started and start your podcast. And it's not, again, don't get worried too much about all the details. I guarantee you will have plenty of guests if you want to have guests. I will oftentimes do the podcast by myself just because there's information that I want to share. So it really, that's about what it takes. That's about it. Any other questions or more questions? Wait, let me check.
I don't see any other questions, but I was going to add that, can you put the resource in for the 10-second or the $10 music clip? That would be helpful, because I didn't know you could actually find that reasonably.
Yeah, let me.
Thing I will tell you about your audio quality is Julie's right that you just need to get started, and we will put lots of barriers in front of us. Oh, I need to get the perfect mic yet. Oh, I can't afford it. Well, I can't do the thing until I get the mic, and I can't afford it yet, so I'm not going to start it yet. And that's just not, you don't want to do that. So yes, you want really good quality stuff, because if you're going to be anybody that someone subscribes to the people I know that listen to podcasts on a regular basis listen to it because of the quality, typically, or they like someone's message, but they will not listen to you if you don't have good quality, or if you have lots of interruptions or background noises. So they will not continue to listen to you regardless of your quality. So I would say get started and then upgrade as you go. And don't forget, one of the things I learned, don't forget, is to monetize it. So you either have to have in your intro, so this is the marketing strategy of it here, but the intro has to be a really super credible intro of you, and ideally you want it to be somebody else's voice, because you don't want to introduce yourself. Okay, so that's why Jason's doing these things, because we should not be introducing ourselves on our own podcast. Okay, and so then you have to write the script for that, but make it really super juicy to any accolades or awards that you have, or things that you do, like Julie runs the whatever Women Entrepreneur Extraordinaire organization, right? Katrina has live events 3 times a year in the Sacramento area, and you can go to Live Big events to check it out, right? So you want to have a little bit of seeding of what you do and sell in your intro. And then you can even promote a couple things throughout your show. And don't forget to seed some stuff about what you do while you're interviewing people. Don't just come on and not tell anything about yourself and make it all about the guest and then leave. I've been on podcast interviews or radio show interviews where the guests didn't even say their own name, okay? They didn't say anything about their own name. They didn't send anybody to their website. They didn't do anything but promote me and talk to me, which is fine. But zero self-promotion is not helpful for you.
Yeah, I would absolutely ditto that. Treat your podcast the same as you're treating any speaking engagement, right? You're seeding throughout your speaking engagement. You're giving something for them to engage with. I always tell my listeners, you've got to hang on. You've got to listen to the whole show, because it's at the end when we're going to give you the really juicy stuff. And my guest, if I have a guest, that's when we're going to tell you what the complimentary gift is and how you can get in contact. So you want to constantly reiterate that and give them, and of course, having your copy, here's our copywriter, Gary, right? Having that copy on your show page, whether you are on a page, on a network like what we have, or you are independent you have a page on your website, you want to have everything listed there. So all they have to do is point and click. Yeah. You want to make it the easiest possible for them to engage with you and get that download or sign up for whatever it is, or get that discount on the upcoming event that you've got going on. So you treat it just like any other speaking engagement. You've got to, or else you're not going to be able to really monetize it. Now you can do advertising. Advertising isn't really going to work for you until you have millions of listeners, or different companies like the podcast Spreaker. Once you have 5,000 per episode, then they will go after the big, the big Staples or whatever, the big companies for you. But don't count on that in the beginning. That's not what you're doing in the beginning. In the beginning, you're getting your monetization from driving people to you, and then getting, those collaborative things that get going on with other people. That also becomes very, very very, very valuable for you.
There's a couple other questions. I think Steve was asking, where are you sharing your podcast?
It is, so my podcasts are housed, I have brainladyspeaks.com. Actually, I think that one, something's up with that one. brainladyspeaksradioshow.com. That's where Brain Lady Speaks is. It's housed on Women Entrepreneurs Podcast Network.com. And that is also where the Women Entrepreneurs Podcast is. So both of those are on the WomenEntrepreneurspodcast.com. Which is the support system is Spreaker. That's the online program that I use.
Entrepreneurspodcast.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, here, let me put it in there. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next question is from Joanne. She says, "What do you know about Anchor? What's Anchor?" I don't know.
Yeah. Explain Anchor. I'm not really sure, Joanne. Where's Joanne? Joanne. Yeah. Joanne. I'm not really sure what Anchor is.
Anchor is like it's like Spreaker, but it's a new one that a lot of people are taking advantage of because it's something literally you can record on your phone. It's a podcast that you can record, do all your recording on your phone. You never heard of Anchor?
I have not heard of that, but Spreaker has the downloadable tool that you can do from your phone as well.
Mm-hmm. Anchor does too. It's an app also, and then it's similar to Spreaker. I'm familiar with Spreaker, but Anchor is, I guess, all the rage right now because it's so easy to move. It's easy to work with.
Well, I would say be careful because I mean,
I know that's one of the reasons I'm asking.
That's what I would say, Katrina, was the same because we were talking about audio quality. And
right.
You're going to be dealing with some of that. It may be really convenient if you're on the go or you're doing something, remotely, and you're telling them, hey, I'm doing this remotely from the such and such conference, and I'm going to share with you the latest tips, or I've got this person here to interview. That's one thing, and I think that could be valuable in that situation. But on a regular basis, you want to come across, you want the people that are going to be the demographic that are going to invest in working with you, which means you have to come across very professional, at least by far the majority of the time.
And I would say too that most of my podcast friends, and I know probably 50 or 60 podcasters that are doing really well, they don't use their cell phone, to do their podcasts. So they use a microphone, a really good microphone. They might plug into their laptop. They use even a little mixer thingy, little box that helps them regulate the sound quality for them and their guests. And I don't even know what it's called. I was trying to look it up on a website that my guy, but and also there is the difference between Spreaker and Libsyn, just to throw in another little thing. I mean, Julie's network is probably the least expensive thing I've seen out there. Most people will charge so much, and they'll charge like $3,000 to $7,000 to set it all up for you. Okay. Wow. They'll charge you that. And they'll do the pages and all this stuff. And Julie is just trying to help more people, just like I am. We're trying to help more people get more visibility. And so she's doing it very affordably. Now, I have just learned, Julie, that my podcasters say don't do Spreaker because old episodes will drop off after 500 episodes. They will drop off. So if you have more than 500 episodes, then it only houses 500. So if that's not true in a network, I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out there. They all use Libsyn. So.
Okay, that's a good, you know what, I will check into that. I will double check into that. It could be that that's if you're not an actual station. And if they drop off, they're dropping off, if they do drop off, they're going to drop off of the Spreaker. But remember,
Right.
Spreaker is not the main thing you're heading for. What you're wanting is iTunes,
Right.
iHeart, Spotify. And once your episodes are loaded up onto those platforms, they're going to hold as long as iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, as long as they hold them. They're not going to be affected by what Spreaker holds internally, because they're separate. Once the other entities have it uploaded, it stays there. And that's really one of the great benefits, is to be able to, whatever you're using as your main platform, you've got to get it up on the main. I mean, this is how I got into 20 different countries, right? It wasn't because Blog Talk Radio was great or because Spreaker was great. It was because we were uploading them onto all of these other things, which is an automatic thing when you work with the network.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. And I just put that 60% of all downloads for podcasts happen on Apple or iTunes, by the way. So that's really where the magic happens anyways.
Does Apple or iTunes have a criteria for acceptance for accepting your podcast? Do they have a criteria that you have to meet?
Apple is fairly easy, although you have to be cautious about the rating. You know, you can't, any of those platforms are going to, you have to indicate whether or not it's explicit material. So you're not, they will probably hesitate to put you on there. iTunes generally responds when I bring on a new host, and iTunes will generally pick it up within just a few days to a week. iHeart takes a little bit longer. For some reason, iHeart is just longer. Spotify is a little bit longer. So it takes a little bit longer on some of them. It might take a month or more to get all of these, the 12 or so different outlets. Or no, I think it's 8. The 8 different outlets that we send it to.
Okay.
Hi, Julie. I have a question.
Yeah.
With Spotify, are they a little bit more lenient on the rating that they have relative to iTunes?
That's a good question that I wish I could provide you an answer with, but I'm going to have to say I haven't dealt with ones that have explicit material. It hasn't, it's not something that necessarily fits the program that I work with, so I haven't come up with that. I mean, it's something that I can definitely ask and find out for you if that's something.
You're worried about explicit material? Is that what you said? Oh.
Yeah, I just been noticing that. I have a 15-year-old, and my son has been listening to stuff that is just different than that I don't think I would hear on iTunes. And so I was just wondering a little bit more about that with podcasts. I used to have a podcast, and we did do material that people were talking about because of their niche, that it did concern me being on iTunes. We didn't get dinged for. If it was looked upon a little bit closer, I don't think they would have supported some of the discussions that we had. So that's what I was wondering about Spotify also.
That's a really good question, Rhonda. I will make a note, and I will actually check into that.
But Spotify only has about 7% of the downloads anyways. So as a host, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But as a parent, that's a different story. Cher, did you have a question? I thought you would raise your hands. Yes? No? I can't hear you if you do. Okay, no.
I froze.
Okay. Okay, cool. And I see we have a couple people that just joined us a little bit while we were already started. We have a Fast Start group. Who's that? What's your name again? I can't see. I can only see the top of your head. The Fast Start group person. Hello, are you there? We're talking to you. Okay, maybe not. All right, Rebecca, I see Rebecca. You can unmute and say hello if you want. I think you had noise in the back. So Steve asks, is there a cost to have your podcast uploaded in iTunes and the others?
If you're doing it independently, that I don't know. When you're working on a network, if you're working with my network, there's no there's no fee. That's all inclusive within it. When I was independent on,
no, I don't think there's a cost in iTunes.
yeah,
there's a cost in some of these other platforms after so many megabytes. So if, like, I was on Podbeam for a little while with a local podcast that I had, and it wouldn't let me upload more than 3 or 4 podcasts for free. I had to join, and I just hadn't decided what I was doing. So most of them, I think it depends on how many episodes you need.
Right. And
yeah,
agreement with that.
That's part of what I said. A lot of the free ones, they limit your how many you can upload every month.
You're just going to have to pay. So this needs to be a business model, right? This needs to be a business model, but don't just be out there speaking. Now, I have some friends who just really love to do their shows and their interviews, and they don't do a lot of self-promotion either, but they will run their own ads in between. And they're just all about the show itself, but they've got lots of listeners, and they make this a career. Like, they do 5 shows a week and sometimes different shows. And so you have to make sure that it fits in with what you do. If you need to make a lot of money, this isn't a quick money-making thing. I mean, only a half a percent of all podcasters have like 50 million downloads per episode. Okay. So a very teeny tiny percentage. So it's not like you're going to start a show and then you're going to get a gazillion people listening. Okay. So you have to be really good at marketing your show and getting on other people's show and getting good guests that you can collaborate with to share each other's shows, in my opinion, to get bigger. And then make sure that you have something on your website where it can capture people, and don't just rely on them listening to your show, but you need to get them into your community and your funnel too. So
yeah. And can I add too, it's a marketing tool like any of your other marketing tools, and the consistency is really, really, really important. If you're hit and miss, then you're not going to be followed as closely. You're not going to be seen as much of as much of a professional, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like being on social media. I'm so bad about social media, right? And it shows in my stats. But when you're consistent, those people who are consistent, they're the ones who develop that loyal following.
And I can tell you the percentage of podcasts that don't make it is 93%. 93% of all podcasts will stop after 7 episodes because people either get overwhelmed or distracted and they're not consistent, and then boop, it just goes by the wayside. So don't invest a ton of money in getting it going unless you're super serious with making this a good platform for yourself. So any other questions? We can do a hot seat if you want. If anybody has something that they want to work on, usually I take a show of hands. If anybody has something they want to work on, then we'll do like 3 or 4 minutes in the hot seat where you can share your concern and we'll all mastermind around you. Anything? We can still talk about this. We can.
I'm gonna put in there, if anybody wants to reach out and contact me, I'll put my my email in here again. But if you just want to chat about whether or not it's a fit for you to just do a podcast, period, just call me. You know, or set up an appointment. We'll just chat about all the stuff offline, and you can ask me whatever you ask me. I do that all the time for people.
Now,
so
on your network, Julie, do they have to be a woman?
No, but it is a woman's network in the sense that the target market,
right,
the people who are going to be drawn to listening to those shows, are going to be women, and women entrepreneurs more specifically. Yeah. So it really, if you're a man and you have, you know, a topic and those are your people, then yeah, a podcast on that station would be fine.
And Joanna asked the place to purchase music. I think you stuck that in here before, neosound.com.
Neosounds. Now, I bought my music 5 years ago. So I just looked it up to find out, where did I buy it from? I bought it from Neosound. So where they're at price-wise right now, but I want to say that I got like, I don't know, I got like 7 or 8 different music clips for different commercials and different things like that.
I can't get on their website right now. It's because they don't have a secure site.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, it was about 5 years ago, but 6 years ago, maybe, when I did it.
They need to update their security for their website because they're losing business. Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Actually for Julie or Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, I've heard before that consistency is, just a requirement in being successful at podcasts. My question is, how long, how many Thursdays do you open up your podcast before you say, this doesn't seem to be going anywhere? What's the expectation of time commitment on getting your podcast up and launched and to a point where people are responding?
I tell people you want to give it at least 6 months, if not commit to a year. And I know that sounds like a lot, but there's a lot of front end promotion that you have to do. There's a lot of, you got to get recognized out there. Now, if you have an existing base of, thousands of people on your email list that actually read your emails and, people that engage with you on a regular basis, then you're going to have success a lot sooner. You're going to have a lot more people downloading and listening to you a lot sooner. Okay. But if you don't, if this is completely new for you, then you're going to have to give it time to gain traction. And I might mention too, I tend to do a lot of my shows. I probably do 90% of my shows are done live. I do them live and then they become a podcast later on. But you don't have to commit to doing them live. That's the beauty of podcasting. Mm-hmm. You do them, you record them, and then you just upload them to the site. So you can put it in times of the week that, you can even plan, okay, I'm going to record this week for next week's podcast. And that way you have plenty of time. If I don't get it recorded on Tuesday, okay, I can record it on Wednesday, but it's still going to be uploaded next week on Tuesday because that's when my show normally is uploaded.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
I would recommend, after being on a ton of podcasts, I would recommend you only do them pre-recorded because there's so many glitches that can happen nowadays with Zoom lines or phone lines or whatever. You don't want to mess up your podcast day. And I know people that will record podcasts all day long, back to back to back to back to back to back to back. And then they have all their podcasts done for months. So you can really be efficient and productive with the recording of your podcast if you do it that way. Plus, you can edit better. You can put the intro, outro better. If you try to do them live, you're going to need this mixer thing that can then play the intro, and then you start, and then you're going to need the outro. I mean, it's very complicated, in my opinion, because I'm not that techie with that kind of stuff. It'd be much more complicated to go live. You're going to be going live with nothing unless you get someone to help you. And
I have to say, I sat through a live podcast, and you could tell that the person was new at it, which is perfectly fine, right? And her cat jumped up on her computer and spilt a drink all over. It was a shambles. My heart broke for that poor woman.
Yeah.
It was
real serious podcast listeners. They don't have the patience for that. They want in and out. And your podcast can actually be 20 minutes, 10 minutes. I know a 1-minute podcaster. I know a person that does a 1-minute podcast. I know someone that does the 5-minute bark podcast. Mm-hmm. I know people that do 10 and 20-minute podcasts. And if they're clean and to the point, you have a good strategy, then you might have a lot of followers. So look at who your target market is, and depending on what their attention span is. If they're millennials at all, you're going to want a 1-minute podcast. And I'm not going to do
if you start a podcast, isn't it ideal to launch it with a stash of published podcasts before you launch it, rather than launch it with just one recording?
Yes, because then you'll feel pressure, like, oh my God, I gotta get out next week. Right. I would definitely recommend, and a lot of my podcaster friends recommend having like 5 in the hopper already. 5 recordings in the hopper. So yeah. Any other thoughts, you guys, from anybody? Anybody that has any thoughts on this? We might as well just keep going on this topic.
It's fun. It's great, you guys. Once you get into it, it becomes
Yeah.
It's just fun, and it just becomes something that you do, and the way that you build a rapport with the people that you're interviewing. And it's not hard. I have a template that I send whenever anybody's going to be on my podcast. They get a link to fill out a Google form, and so all their information's there. It's right in my hands when I'm doing the podcast. What we already know ahead of time, what questions we're going to talk about, what offer they're going to have, what links we're going to put down. You do that all on the front end before it even ever goes out. You do the interview. So that way, that helps too. And if you've got a great VA or a great assistant, all that goes to them. They put it all up on the website, and it's done for you.
Is there a special way that you go about becoming a guest? I know you guys mentioned that earlier. Is there like a website or something like that? How do you become a guest on a podcast?
I'm going to get you guys a whole list of podcast links or websites to look at. But to get started, you could just go to Blog Talk Radio. It's not just radio anymore, it's podcasts. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of shows over there that you could literally, you have to set up a free account so you can get and message the hosts. So all I have to do is go to the show. If it looks like something that fits you and they bring on guests, then message the host. You can literally copy, paste, send a message to hundreds of people a day and get booked like crazy. I was going to say, let's spend a minute or two just going around the room and saying, okay, so if you have a podcast, say the name. If you don't and you're thinking about it, what do you think the name is going to be, or the focus, yeah. Does anybody want to start? You can popcorn it or whatever. Everybody's muted, so I don't know if you...
You guys heard mine. It's Brain Lady Speaks and Women Entrepreneurs. So those are mine too. Muted.
What do you think yours is going to be if you were to do one? Barb? What do you think?
I don't know. Copyright. You have to make copyright sexy somehow.
Right?
This is a great place. This is a great group.
Sexy copywriter.
Copyright sexy.
There you go. This is a great way to brainstorm.
Yes, it is.
Really good things. And grab the domain name. Grab the domain name, because then even if they don't have to, you can just link that directly to your. We just brought on amazing.
We only have a couple minutes, so let's go. So how about making copyright sexy? Making copyright sexy. Okay, what about, let's see, who else is unmuted? Renee, what do you think? You have the aging something or other. Where did she go? Raging Aging. The Raging Aging show. That would be awesome. Gary, what about you? Gary, you're unmuted. What are you going to do? Come on.
If I had one, it would be probably be business rich results or business rich ideas, something like that.
Business rich, like money rich?
Yes.
Business rich ideas? No, not ideas. What is it? Business rich?
Results is my other thought. Business rich results. That's
good. We might need a little bit sexier instead of something. I don't know. Cher, what are you thinking?
I have two in mind that I speak to. So one is diversity tree. And I don't know how I can make that, but that's my business, diversity tree. And the other one is to do with fund development. So I speak to the ask, do fundraising. And it's mostly geared to people who, for small businesses or nonprofits and so on, who are into fundraising and how to enhance and make their fundraising better, how to do the ask, A-S-K.
Okay.
Art of the ask.
Ooh, I like that right there. The art of the ask.
Yeah.
That would be good. All right. Anybody else want to chime in? Rebecca? Rhonda? Come on. Well, you have fresh inspirations, Rhonda. Is that going to be, you have a podcast already though. Are you still doing it?
No, when I started the Fresh Inspiration Show, I knew how much work the podcast takes. And I was like, two things like that, getting people on board. I was thinking it's not sexy enough. Freshly inspired mindset, but that would be like where I'd start the base.
Got it. That sounds good. Okay. Make sure you guys, does anybody have anything coming up, like a speaking gig or an event or something that they want to promote that they didn't really quick? Okay, Rhonda. And I put a couple in the chat room too. Go ahead, Rhonda.
The Fresh Inspiration Show, if you're ready for some mindset and some networking space, I'll be in San Francisco with my group. And that is next week on Thursday at Thriving Women in Business. I'll be in Sonoma County the next month on the 9th. And we'll be at Collective, which is in Sebastopol. But it's a great place to kind of get a reset in your mind with different speakers to inspire you.
Awesome. Julie, I know you have a meetup, right?
I was going to say first Tuesday of every month, we do in the Roseville area of Northern California. We would love to have you join us for our Connections Over Coffee. It's just a great little meetup for the women entrepreneurs extraordinaire. We'd love to have you join us. We're thinking about doing a luncheon in the month of May as well. But for right now, it's first Tuesday of every month, awesome. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
And then make sure you guys know if you're in this group, then you know that we have every other month now we're doing a mixer or a luncheon. So in April we're doing a mixer because we did a luncheon. Or no, we did a luncheon in April.
I think your mixer's May 1st, right?
May 1st, thank you. I wasn't at the
I put it on my calendar.
Okay, good.
4 to 6, May 1st. Mimi's in Roseville.
Then there's a lot of things that I've got going on. If you're interested, the Jumpstart Your Speaker Success event is in June. And if you need a live video of yourself speaking in front of the room to put on your website so that you can get booked more, that is the event you want to go to. It's only $497 right now to attend the event and get the raw video of yourself on stage and get my entire speaker training, which is $1,000 value. So it's a 3-day working on yourself event. Barb, whatever you're going to say.
That getting that video is just priceless.
Yes. You did it. I know. Last year, right? Or was it the year before?
Year before, yeah.
Yeah. You have to have video these days, especially if you want to get booked on bigger stages. So there's that event, and I put the link in the chat room. I'm doing a really cool webinar this Thursday on the Business Success Cafe around follow-up marketing. And she is looking for other guests, you guys. So it's a speaker opportunity too. So you definitely want to look at my email newsletter if you're on my email, or you can look at my profile on Facebook because I was promoting it. It's the Business Success Cafe. So with Kathy Demers, so you can sign up to get into the cafe. It's totally free, and listen to the talk on Thursday and see how it goes. And then you can reach out to her and say, hey, I'd love to be a guest. That's what I would do if I were you, because she would probably book you guys. And then, tomorrow I'm doing a Facebook Live also with Lauren Cohen. So you'll see that on my profile. And then there's a 1-day event on April 19th here in Sacramento with myself, Eric Lofholm, talking about sales. I'm talking about marketing. And then we have Johnny Lujan talking about inspiration and mindset. And we have Jennifer Dunham talking about productivity and funnels and things like that in your business. So it's an all-day business training here in Sacramento at the Crowne Plaza. If you go to leadinspireprofit.com, leadinspireprofit.com, it's only $10 and all the money is going to charity. So it would great to see you there. There's a whole many more events. I can't even tell you, like, it's a busy time. Anybody else have anything else? Rhonda.
Katrina, and all that information is also in the last email that you sent. I'm going to be there so everybody knows, because it's central. You get all that information.
I think most of it is.
And, I know I have a bad connection. Sorry about that. But your last email, I got all that information, which was great. Thank you. So Thursday, I'm set up for the coffee thing.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's great. She's been doing these interviews for, I don't even know how long, probably 8-something years. I was on it way back when, and she's having me again. You guys all could get booked. So
Great 20 minutes. It's awesome.
I know.
Julie, I wanted to connect with you. I was thinking I might want to join your group. I just need to understand more because I did get a chance to go once to see one of my speakers from the Fresh Inspiration Show.
Ooh, okay. I know we have to wrap it up if you have to go. Does anybody else have any other events? I have a couple more. One in the Bay Area, one in Reno, if anybody cares. For women. You can. Okay. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. I just want to wrap up the call though, because this is the International Speaker Network, also known as the Sacramento Speaker Group, but because we do webinars now, it's more international. So make sure you're checking the Meetup. I know you're getting emails from Meetup, and if you're also on my business email, you're getting them both, but just know they're different things. And then I also have the International Entrepreneur Network now, which is more of a paid organization. And that thing is really taking off. And we have, like, if you like these kinds of calls where we're masterminding, no speaker, it's just all like hot seats. We're doing 3 calls a month over there on Zoom. It's $7 a month. So I put that over in the chat. Anyways, go check. Oh, there's a Facebook group for this group. That's where I'm putting the last minute reminders and stuff and where we can share your stuff. So if you guys have events or you're speaking somewhere, make sure you're posting in the Facebook group for the International Speaker Network, because then we can share it for you. I go in there at least 3 times a week and look for stuff, and nobody's really interacting that much. So I want to make sure you guys know to go there. I put the link in the chat, and you'll get the recording of this and all the chat comments on the SAC speaker or the speaker webinar recording page. And I'll put that in the chat right now so you can save it, but I'll send an email out too. Renee, do you have something else you wanted to share?
I put it in the chat, so we're good. Yeah, okay. I'm doing a pitch contest May 7th for Aging 2.0 for their regional contest, and anybody that would like to come, it's free. They're serving food, and it's going to be a great experience. I've never done a pitch contest before, so I'm really looking forward to it, and I'd love to have the support. So if you want more information, I'll have it on my website, but I also plug my phone number in there if anyone wants more information. So
awesome.
Thank you.
And Katrina, we have a Facebook group too for the Women Entrepreneurs Extraordinary. You're all welcome to.
And that's free, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a Facebook group. And I'm constantly telling women, share with us what you've got going on so we know.
I know.
So we know.
Women entrepreneurs. Okay. Well, okay. I don't want to keep it going too long, but thank you guys for sticking around and I appreciate you being here. Let me take a screenshot of everybody. So everybody smile and wave real quick just so I can have another really good, on your mark, get set, go. Okay.
Thank you so much, Katrina, for having me on. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you.
Very much. Nice meeting everybody.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, again. Bye.